Hey guys, welcome to the podcast, day 24, part two on the fourth estate. And today I'm going to talk about why Trump's media attacks endanger Americans. It's really important to know we only have 23 more days to go in this election, and the media is definitely in play. It is getting tromped on. Trump's animosity towards the media stems from its power to scrutinize and fact check his words and policies. So Trump hates the media because they're fact checking him. Well, the good ones are. By labeling the media fake news, he aimed to undermine the credibility of everyone. Sorry, by labeling it fake news, he aimed to undermine its credibility, especially among his supporters. And the tactic has contributed to a polarized view of the press, where millions distrust established news outlets. The media, in turn, has been forced to defend its role, complicating its ability to function objectively. So the whole point of fake news is to just say it's fake, right? So you can't believe it, it's fake news. You just generally cast aspersions. The problem is, as we learned in part one, this media fragmentation has made challenging for us to understand what is unbiased, what's been fact checked, what's crucial for free and fair elections, what's really the truth. Corporate ownership, partisan coverage, and social media have created an environment where misinformation thrives. And the environment has eroded the trust that's essential for media to function as the fourth estate. So let's talk about this. When people lose trust in the press, bad things can happen. First, it erodes our informed decision making. So well-functioned democracy relies on an informed citizenry. We expect a democracy holds you, a member of America, responsible for having a clue. I think we don't teach this enough anymore. It's clear to me there's too many people who think they don't have to know anything about living here. No offense, but screw you. You do have a responsibility for living here. We all do. And if we lived in a country that held you responsible a little better, and it's funny to me because the white Christian nationalist thinks it's about God. It's not about God. It's about teaching about valuing being in a democracy and valuing our freedoms and valuing our media and valuing the fourth estate. These are things we don't teach anymore. I don't know if we ever did. I hate sounding like an old person. That's weird, but I loved it. One of the things I know we don't teach that has fallen away, and maybe this is not true in other states, but in California with Prop 13, when we started underfunding schools, which, by the way, I'm benefiting from Prop 13 right now. It's a geezer, but when I was a kid, it was terrible. I attended school where there was a lot of after school and, well, in fact, during school activities. I was in leadership. I learned it like was the best. I learned about Robert's Rules of Orders and how to pass stuff, and we had votes, and we made a plan for our school, and we had a budget and everything. It was amazing, leadership was. And because some of us were in leadership, we were able to take that out to our peers. That was probably the coolest thing, is that they perceived us as leaders and respected us as leaders and would come to us with ideas. Like, it was so cool how it worked. Remember student council used to run for student? I don't think we have any of those things anymore. We used to teach kids about how to participate in government, even in their own school. It was such a valuable lesson. And those things have eroded, and this undermines our ability. So when if we don't take the responsibility of informed decision making, that's on us. And I cannot believe, I know most of them are bots. It's exhausting to me, but they are, when they have a few hundred followers and they have no original posts, they're just shit posting, they're bots. But there's still a lot of people out there. I'm arguing with one woman right now who's just so remarkably dumb, but I feel like she doesn't know civics. I don't think she's dumb. Like, she clearly can manage her life. I can tell she's a real person in the world. She can manage her life, but she doesn't know how to take in new information, and she doesn't know how to think about it. And so informed decision making, having us lose that as a society is really scary for us. It means it's Max Headroom. If you've never watched Max Headroom, I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. I have the DVD because I'm an idiot and I love stuff like that. But Max Headroom's whole premise was the way you manage the masses is you keep them engaged in idiot television. The masses down on the streets, Max and the news people and the other people, Max was a journalist or worked for a journalist, but they lived above everybody, and everybody else lived down on the ground, and they were pacified. That's the most important part of this, pacified by the television. And you could be pacified by your phone. So we figured out ways to assuage the masses in their idiocy. So that's one of our big problems, is the erosion of informed decision making. That weakens democratic participation and accountability. And instead of basing decisions on well-researched facts, citizens rely on rumors. How familiar does this sound? Disinformation or echo chambers that reinforce biases, making it harder to unite on common issues. So that's one reason it's really bad for us. I got plenty of reasons here. The next is it increases our vulnerability to disinformation. So if we distrust credible media, then we're going to have a real hard time when we are listening to incredible. Like we're more likely to believe incredible media because it's sexier, right? It's more exciting. It's like Housewives, or apparently Love is Blind, my daughter. Without trusted sources to clarify truth from lies, like who do we trust today? Who do we trust? I don't think there's anybody we all trust. I cannot think of someone we all trust. I think a bunch of us trust Joe Biden because his character makes him less inclined to lie. He may have lied to us. I would expect every president at times to lie to us. I don't think it's their job to and that's something I did learn in government, by the way. I learned that in student government. Sometimes you do lie. You don't lie, you lie, you withhold. But sometimes you have to, because you have to withhold for a short time till the thing is done. Sometimes it's important to have secrets if you're leading. It's different from lying, but there you go. So we have increased vulnerability. My point was, I don't think there's anybody in the old days, people would trust Walter Cronkite. I grew up in Walter Cronkite was already an old guy when I was a little kid. We trusted Peter Jennings, we trusted Dan Rather, we trusted, there were people we trusted. I just don't know if there's anybody we trust anymore. I think I trust Nicole Wallace, but not really, because she wanted to introduce her husband when he's on the show as being her husband. So why? Why are we doing that? Why aren't we just go ahead and being truthful? That's something that's a high value for her. Why don't you share it? All right, so there it is, increased vulnerability to disinformation. And then we have the press. When the press fails, it undermines government accountability. Remember, that's the first part of the sentence. When the press fails, what happens to us? It makes our government accountability less. Press traditionally acts as a watchdog, exposing corruption, abuses of power, and government inefficiencies. When the citizens don't trust the media, the power of journalism to check authority goes down. Politicians, powerful entities, those less fearful of media scrutiny may feel emboldened to act with less transparency or accountability. Again, sound familiar? Because the unchecked power weakens the democratic institutions. Trump weakens our institutions. He just weakened FEMA because he had unchecked power, because the journalists couldn't keep up with his BS fast enough to stop him from putting our own government workers in jeopardy from madmen who are wacky, who, by the way, on the previous slide, are more susceptible to disinformation because they're afraid, because Trump has taught his followers to stop thinking critically. It's literally a trait he has beat out of them through their blind subservience and following. So this unchecked power is bad. And when we don't have a way to check the government, we're in trouble. That we need that. Trump was very effective at making it hard to check his accountability when he was in office. We're still finding stories now about where he sent PPE and what he did during times of crisis that just make my head explode. So we're going to move on. All right. And then we have, of course, we all know, weakling of civil discourse. And yes, I did not get Mudang for this because it takes two Mudangs to fight, right? So the weakening of civil discourse, for those of you listening, I have two sea lions fighting, as you know how they do. They just go, arr, arr, arr. I live in Santa Fe, I hear it at night. Weakening of the civil discourse is trust in the media, providing a shared set of facts that fosters constructive debate and civil discourse. Oh my God, when's the last time we all had a shared set of facts? Even the stupid parking lot incident over the weekend when Trump left his rally of 15,000, I think it is now. And that's all the fire marshal approved was 15,000. Those poor 15,000 people at a horse manure ranch in South Indio or North Indio, maybe, couldn't get back to their cars because He picked a location. It was his donor's manure, horse manure farm. Can't make this stuff up. It's like it should be on a bumper sticker, right? I rallied for Trump at Ripon Manure. I don't even know. There's jokes there somewhere. Anyway, he left the 15,000 people, plus or minus some, at the ranch, which is not accessible by car because it's a ranch. Remember, you'd have people parking, like I think of Watsonville, and you have people parking on agricultural highways. It's not safe, and you couldn't park anywhere near it because 15,000 people would still end up parking 5 miles away. So anyway, the parking was 5 miles away, and he had buses to take everybody back and forth. The problem is he didn't have them to take them back, just forth. They all got there, and of course now we go back to single set of facts, right? A shared set of facts. Did he or did he not do that so they wouldn't leave his rally? Did he make it impossible for them to leave because they had to have a bus? Number two, I would have been taking that bus early. I've been like, where's the bus? I would have been standing out there for a long time because apparently the buses just didn't come. I don't know if anybody got out of there early or not, but that was supposedly. So there's one shared facts. I don't know. The shared facts of the guy who got arrested with the gun happens to know Roger Stone, everybody else, and now he's threatening to sue the local sheriff for being busted for carrying in guns to a rally. Like, there's no shared facts. I don't know. And in all of this story, the whole point of all of this story is freaking nothing. It's not even a story. It doesn't matter in the whole history of the world because all it is it shows Trump doing the same thing he always does, which is he doesn't give a crap about his followers, right? And again, that's not news either. So does it even matter? It's such an interesting story because it took up so much energy over the weekend because it's sensational. It's dishy. We're spilling tea. It's got gossip. People are telling their personal stories, which are crazy. And here we are. We're talking about that instead of the fact that Trump has now said that we're going to have the purge. And all he's going to do is lock everybody up that disagrees with him. So that's me. He's going to lock us all up once he gets in power. That's the story we should be following. Okay, so that's weakening civil discourse. We disagree more. We have heated conflicts faster. We have lack of reliable information for a basis of discussion. You get it. This is what happens when there's no news we can rely on. And then we have, of course, increased political polarization, which is exhibited by people taking Trump's messages and not believing the press and not believing a central agreed upon source of truth, leads to insanity where people seek information from sources that confirm their pre-existing beliefs. I don't like you listening to me, probably. I do it too. I need to hear confirmation, but confirmation bias is okay. It's an okay thing. You just have to know you're doing it. And so that's it. I just need you to be aware that you're doing it. So if you are listening to things that reinforce your perspective, check your brain and go, oh yeah, I'm just validating my belief system with some more evidence. And hopefully people bring evidence. I try to bring evidence. So there you go. The media skepticism drives people to turn to solely partisan outlets. I do have a preference for MSNBC. That is true. But I do know also which shows to watch on this. And we do know when there's social media echo chamber, and we do know when there's bipartisan, when there's no way we are ever doing consensus building. Right now, we have Mike Johnson absolutely acting like a child with oppositional defiance disorder, ironically, affectionately called odd. Yeah, he, on every level, if there's a chance for him to defy the norms, Mike Johnson's defying them, like coming back from bringing Congress back to deal with these natural disasters. He won't do it. He actually manifests like ODD, except when it comes to Trump, then he's just looking boots. So it's very, very interesting. So here's the deal. When Trump's fake news is so hostile, and we have a fourth estate that's been battered, the principles of transparency and accountability and informed debate that sustain a democracy get really compromised, leaving a society vulnerable to authoritarian tendencies and internal fragmentation. By destroying the fourth estate, it actually sets us up for authoritarianism even better, because authoritarians hate the media. They hate them. The authoritarians need the media to just say what they want, just to be mimic them. They just want them to repeat their messages. Authoritative leaders do not want the media to do anything except lockstep, stand in line, and do what they're told. So, and that's what we're up against. Trump's relationship with the media has been incredibly hostile. His use of anti-media rhetoric energizes his base and undermines critical coverage. So he started off, I'm going to go back one slide for those of you watching. He starts off with fake news, right? That was his thing. That was he and Kellyanne Conway. They labeled the press as fake news and dismissed coverage that he considered unfavorable or critical. If it was anyway, if somebody said how many people were ever at a rally he had ever, they're wrong. Every person who's reported it has been wrong, except Fox News, who just does what he wants and mimics his numbers. Even though, like Trump keeps saying, just a recent example, $100,000 at the 100,000 people at the manure ranch in North India, 100,000 people. The fire marshal only approved 15,000. Like there's a source of truth, and yet he perpetuates the myth. And you'll see Fox News pick that up. They're being a little more careful now since they got sued, so they might say large crowds. They might still echo him without specifically reporting his lie of 100,000 people. So this strategy of fake news departed from the standard political response to media criticism, and it set a precedent for openly attacking journalists and news outlets. Before this fake news thing, nobody said that. They would say misreported, they would say needs to look at their facts, but they wouldn't say fake news. Fake news, if you think about it, is such an easy way to dismiss everything. 2 words, fake news. People say that to me all the time, fake news. I'm like, I don't even, that doesn't even register to me anymore. Fake news to me is not a thing. It's a trick. It's a tactic deployed by Trump, designed to make everyone suspicious, and it worked. It pisses me off. And Kellyanne Conway, I'm holding you accountable. Okay, so then he went on to do more than rhetoric, right? Trump has repeatedly hinted at regulatory changes to penalize or even silence news organizations that challenge him. This is his big thing right now. He suggested that networks could lose their licenses or face other forms of government retribution for perceived bias or misinformation. This rhetoric has emboldened his supporters to distrust and criticize mainstream news, intensifying the broader distrust in media. And the tactic effectively undermines one of democracy's essential pillars by suggesting that the only media favorable to Trump can be trusted. That's what he has said. And the problem is, everyone else knows that's not true, except his followers, because he's and that's because just it's not Trump's fault, all of it. Trump's the catalyst for sure. He's the ugly disease that has made us all sick. But honest to God, the recipients of this news also are listening to Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, whatever that letter thing is that they have, RSPN or something like that. Those guys, they're on social media channels. They listen to Alex Jones. They listen to Steve Bannon. They listen to Roger Stone. They listen to Joe Rogan. They listen to QAnon stuff. They're in an echo chamber that's, well, when you listen to interviews with them, you know it's psychotic. Like they're there. When you listen to Michael Flynn, who Rachel talked about last night on her report, and you listen to what Michael Flynn is saying with that Iron Church guy, holy crap, people. And that's in the echo chamber. That's in their echo chamber. They are worshiping an AR-15. Is that right? Got the right gun? I don't know. Something 47, AK-47, AR-15. I forget which one. It might be an AK-47. Is that worse? Anyway, they're worshiping it. Aren't there supposed to be no false gods before God? I don't even understand, but that's what they're doing. And my friend's there, and there are people in the pews at this Iron Chef Church. No, it's not Iron Chef. Iron Gun Church. Iron something church. There are people in the pews that believe this, and they're ready to fight with weapons. And that's the bubble they're in. So this is important when we talk about how far he goes. It's a significant, he's calling out for that the press is the enemy of the people. And this is authoritarian rhetoric. And by labeling the press this way as the enemy of the people, he's delegitimizing critical coverage and positioning journalists as opponents of American values. Get it? He's actually saying they're anti-American. They couldn't be any more American. It's actually part of our democracy. But Trump And again, this is not because he's trying to influence everybody. He just wants to win. He will do anything to win. This is so hard because we all know this. He'll do anything to win, but by tearing down the media, it's so dangerous. Okay, he revoked. We have his behavior. Remember, I would say past behavior predicts future behavior. When Trump was president, he revoked Jim Acosta's White House press pass. I don't care if Jim Acosta is the most annoying human being on the face of the planet. He is a member of the press and gets to be in the room. And it's the president's job to let me just pull this out of my butt. Man up. President mans up. And what you're seeing from Kamala Harris right now, which I really appreciate, is she's taking all the questions. She's taking herself to places that are gross, like maybe the Joe Rogan show. But she comports herself on each of these places, in each of these environments, as a person who's trying to earn your vote. That's how it's supposed to work. When I campaigned in high school, I went around and asked people for their vote. I was earning votes. It's what you do. You're supposed to ask people to vote for you because you're going to look out for their best interests. Trump tells people, don't even vote for me. I got this. It's so different. So if you see little hints of democracy, something like Kamala being willing to take questions from anyone, whereas Trump is terrified to take questions from anyone, is a significant difference depending on your view of democracy, if you want democracy. Jim Acosta, this was in 2018, engaged in a tense exchange with Trump during a press briefing, and the White House revoked his credentials. The administration claimed that Acosta had been overly aggressive, although video evidence suggested otherwise. See, this is how you find out your man is really a baby. This unprecedented move was condemned by journalists and First Amendment advocates who saw it as an attempt to limit press freedom. And it was. That's press. We gotta let them in. I'm sorry if they made you uncomfortable. CNN filed a lawsuit in a federal judge ordered the White House to reinstate Acosta's pass. That is because it is important to have a free press and access to the administration. Donald Trump did this famous mocking a reporter. He mocked a disabled reporter. And this is the reason it's so important, guys, because maybe you think we know it's a dead horse and shut up already. But here's the thing. This is just about respect, right? It's just respect. So Sergei Kovaleski, who was a New York Times reporter, had a physical disability. After Kovaleski disputed Trump's claim about witnessing thousands of Muslims celebrating in New Jersey after 9/11. Remember how Trump used to tell the story that he just saw thousands of Muslims celebrating in New Jersey after 9/11. Didn't happen. So Kovaleski was pushing it. Trump's onstage imitation of Kovaleski, complete with exaggerated hand gestures, was widely condemned and highlighted his willingness to attack journalists personally and viciously, especially those who contradicted his statements. And that's what he was doing. He was showing other journalists, don't you dare come for me or I will freaking humiliate you. I will degrade you. I will make people look down on you. That is a Trump tactic. You've heard him say that. You've heard, there's a video, I was looking for it. I wanted to share it with you guys, but I couldn't find it. There's a video going around. It's like a short, maybe it's a minute and a half of all the times Trump was disgusting towards reporters. I mean, in the words he said, in the way he talked down, particularly women and people of color. I'm surprised Jim Acosta, good for Jim Acosta for fighting the battle for us. But yeah, particularly with minorities or women. And he is just vile. Trump is vile. And so, and you'll notice when Biden goes in the press, and he's only been in there once, I guess, but when he goes in, he's fine. Whenever Biden's with the press, he holds them on a short leash, but he also knows that it's transactional. Press briefings used to be kind of fun. You get some hard questions, you get some answers, but here we are. And then finally, of course, the most Trumpian thing ever, we have Trump calling for the revocation of NBC, CBS, and other networks' licenses because of negative coverage, because he thinks there's a bias. He's tweeted about the fake news network and called for the FCC to investigate revoking these licenses. And that's how he's going to use his power to influence the fourth estate, basically shut it down, intimidate it, bully it, and do everything he can to be a piece of human excrement as he just defiles and debases our democracy at every turn. This is just not how it's done. If you have an issue, fight an open Don't go try to don't punish them. That is, punishing someone is an authoritative solution. In America, we don't really focus a lot on punishing people. Actually, right now, we don't focus on punishing people at all. Never mind. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because we're going to talk about punishment. That's for after the election. All right. So we need to stand up for the fourth estate to protect our democracy. This is on you and me and all of us. We need to fact check. We need to start to trust the media when it sounds like they're trustworthy. We need to recognize they're there, and we need to understand their importance. And we need to do everything we can to protect it. I'm not saying go subscribe to the New York Times. I'm out. I'm not doing that yet. I'm not convinced the New York Times has their shit together. They're certainly not helping this election, and they're sane-washing way too much. But after we get through this, I think first your awareness of where we are with the media, and then once we get through this, I think this is one of the things many of us want to talk about, because the coverage has just been the evolution of the fourth estate has just been awful, and it's something we need to save. We need to find our trusted voices again, and hopefully we will. Thank you for listening. I really enjoyed speaking with you. Give me a comment and subscribe, and I will talk to you tomorrow.